siding back here, and there was the Y intersection. So we tried to bring it back to what it looked like in 1869. Now you know she's coming a little bit closer to me. I know you guys.
Weaver Canyon was 151-pound mill because of all of the traffic.
There you go. I think the gentleman that was talking to me a little bit earlier, I think he found at least 3 or 4 different years.
That way, you're just regular. So they had to really scrounge to get wood. And what wood they had, they hand cut. Coming through the Sierra Nevada mountains in California, they had plenty of wood. So they built sawmills so that they could cut them square. So if you ever see a historic photograph, look at the ties of the telegraph poles and you can tell whether it's a Central Pacific or a Union Pacific Railroad photograph.
Excellent.
There's the rails singing. Can you hear the rails singing? You listen real quiet. We need a baby to tie to the track. Yeah. Who wants to volunteer to be tied to the track? Will we take him? He's not a baby. That's all right.
Good idea.
What happened? No, that's on purpose, you guys. She is headed back that way, but why? You guys know why. Where's the Jupiter coming from?
locomotive running on wood. Now the freight locomotive, the 119, you still have to make sure. I want you to flip it over. Open it up, just flip it over. And you'll see the 119 as a freight locomotive working on the railroad out here on the big field. On the truss that was right there.
back. I need 15 feet. I don't care who he is.
I know. Thank you. Thank you. MC and your reenactors are going to be very appreciative if we could have everybody seated down and ready to go when it's time for the reenactment to start. I understand you guys are taking some photographs, and like I said, she's going to be stopping a ways out there. So if you have her, tell it,
That guy's great.
The date is May 10th, 1869. The place is Promontory Summit, Utah. An unlikely spot for the culmination of an undertaking that'll mark the ending of the Old West and the beginning of the new. But they have come, the famous and the unknown, the wealthy and the poor, the labor and his boss. The Chinese from the west and the Irish from the east, mingling with the local residents in a strange communion. The gathering is both festive and anxious, awaiting that moment of miracle when a common railroad spike, driven into an ordinary railroad tie, will link a continent. A gentle breeze is blowing under an almost cloudless sky. The thermometer on the shaded side of the Central Pacific Telegraph car registered 69 degrees. Above the babble of voices could be heard the soft hissing of the steam locomotives, which herald the beginning of a new era. A polished tie of laurelwood has been placed in its ceremonial position by the construction superintendents of both railroads. And then Edgar Mills, a wealthy banker and friend of the Central Pacific Railroad officials, steps forward and signals for silence. And so a nation, as well as you spectators gathered here, await as the drama of men's hopes and prayers and dreams begin to unfold on this 10th day of May, 1869. And you are here.
Promontory, Utah, to the country. Bulletin, keep quiet. When the last spike is driven, we will say done.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the officials of the world's two greatest railroad companies, the Central Pacific of Sacramento and the Union Pacific of Omaha, I bid you welcome. We are met this day to celebrate the completion of a remarkable example of the vision, determination, and the labor of thousands of men in a union which this day shall be consummated forever. We're assembled at Promontory Summit of the Utah Territory to link Europe and Asia with a new route of travel and commerce, and to join the raw riches of the American West with the finished goods of the industrial East. And yet we've met with some mixed emotions. Certainly with joy that in a common cause and united effort, the brains, the muscle, and the sweat of thousands of men have united under the guidance of Almighty God. But it is with profound sorrow that we remember and pay homage to the hundreds of our comrades who lost their lives in the construction of this railroad, so that we the living may stand here one with another and share this sacred occasion. In addition to the officials of the Union Pacific and the officials of the Central Pacific who are taking part in this ceremony today, I'm pleased to acknowledge the presence of dignitaries from many of our nation's other great railroads. Just to mention a few, there's a gentleman right over here from the Chicago and Rock Island Railroad. Another gentleman right here in the back from the Mississippi and Missouri Railroad across the great state of Iowa. Yes. And over here is a gentleman from the Hannibal and St. Joseph Railroad that spans the great state of Missouri. Yes. We're also pleased to have newspaper reporters, journalists from many of our nation's great cities. And if you'll allow, look over here to my right and your left, in their beautiful new uniforms and shiny brass instruments, is the band from the 10th Ward of the Mormon Church from Salt Lake City. They've been providing the musical entertainment today. Let's give them a nice round. If you'll allow me to stretch your imagination a little more, if you'll kindly look on the other side of the track, standing at ease are 4 companies of the 21st Infantry Regiment, their regimental band and their commander, Major Milton Cogswell. Ladies and gentlemen, these boys in blue are among the very first transcontinental passengers having boarded on the East Coast. They will fulfill Abraham Lincoln's dream to reinforce a garrison on the West Coast in 2 weeks. Major Carswell tells me they're going to do it in 10 days if possible. Now, from the Utah Territory, ladies and gentlemen, somewhere here in the crowd is the representing the prophet Brigham Young is Bishop John Sharp. Where are you, Bishop Sharp? Oh, right there. Thank you. Are those your three wives there next to you? And the mayor of Ogden City, the city of Ogden, has sent us their mayor. Where are you? Lauren Farr, are you here? Now, ladies and gentlemen, of utmost importance here today is our telegrapher, our telegraph operator. Through the miracle of electricity and these tiny, tiny copper wires that you see up here, our telegrapher is keeping the whole nation, actually the whole world, informed of these proceedings just as they transpire. Someday we'll call that live coverage. Please welcome Mr. W.N. Schilling. Mr. Schilling is the chief telegrapher of the Ogden Western Region Office. And now, to unite us in prayer, I'd like to introduce a man who's traveled many weary miles to be with us today, the Reverend John Todd of Pittsfield, Massachusetts. Reverend Todd, step right up there.
Bulletin, almost ready. Hats off. Prayer is being offered.
Please bow your head. Our Father and God, and our Father's God, God the creation and God of providence. Thou hast created the heavens and the earth, the valleys and the hills. Thou art also the God of all mercies and blessings. We have assembled here this day upon the height of the continent to do homage to thy wonderful name, and that thou hast brought this mighty enterprise, combining the commerce of the East with the gold of the West, to so glorious a completion. We acknowledge thy handiwork in the great task, and ask thy blessing upon us here assembled, upon the rulers of our country, and upon thy people everywhere, that peace may flow as a gentle stream, and that this mighty enterprise may be unto us the Atlantic of thy strength and the Pacific of thy love, through Jesus the Redeemer. Amen. Amen.
Bulletin, we have got done praying. Will be presented.
Thank you, Reverend Todd. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce a fellow resident of Sacramento, California, Dr. Harvey W. Harkness. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Harkness is here to present not one, but two ceremonial spikes. One of these spikes he will give to Dr. Thomas Durant. The other spike we'll give to Leland Stanford. Those two gentlemen will carefully, I stress carefully, place those spikes into pre-drilled holes in the lower crosstie. But ladies and gentlemen, make no mistake, these are no ordinary spikes. These spikes are made of pure California gold.
Gentlemen of the Pacific Railroad, and those of you who have met with us, the last spike needed to unite the Atlantic and the Pacific by a new line of trade and commerce is about to be driven to its place. To perform this act, the East and the West have come together. Never since history commenced her record of human events has man been called upon to meet the completion of a work so magnificent in contemplation, so marvelous in execution. California, within whose borders and by whose citizens the Pacific Railroad was inaugurated, desires to express her appreciation of the vast importance to her and her sister states of the great enterprise which by joint action is about to be consummated. From her mines of gold she has forged a spike. From her laurel woods she has hewn a tie. by the hands of her citizens, she offers them to become part of this great highway, which is about to unite her in closer fellowship with her sisters of the Atlantic. From her bosom was taken the first soil. Let hers be the last tie and the last spike. With them, accept the hopes and wishes of her people, that the success of your enterprise will not stop short of its brightest promise. In conclusion, I should like to draw your attention to this spike, the gift of David Hughes of San Francisco. On its head is inscribed, the last spike. On 3 sides, the names of railroad officials. And on the 4th side, this sentence: may God continue the unity of our country as this railroad unites the 2 great oceans of the world. Yeah.
He runs away.
He actually says,
Careful now, they'll do precious metal twice. Get over on the other side.
sorry.
There we go. Oh, Tom.
Thank you, Dr. Harkless. With those beautiful gold spikes, huh? And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege to introduce Mr. F.A. Tridle. Mr. Tridle is the United States Government Railroad Commissioner for the state of Nevada. And he is here to make a presentation of a beautiful, highly polished silver spike on behalf of the state of Nevada from the famous Comstock Lode. Commissioner Tridle.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, to the iron of the east and the gold of the west, Nevada adds a link of silver to span the continent and wet the oceans.
Yes.
Beautiful, isn't it, Mr. Mayor? No, you cannot.
Folks, I neglected to mention, Mr. Tridle is also running for governor for the state of Nevada. And he would sure appreciate if you'd vote for him. Just once. You're on your way back to California. We're highly honored today, ladies and gentlemen, with the presence of the Honorable Anson P.K. Safford, the newly appointed governor of the Arizona Territory. Governor Safford has kindly extended his travels to be with us today to make a presentation of a gold and silver spike on behalf of the Arizona Territory. Governor Safford.
Thank you. Ribbed with iron, clad in silver, crowned in gold. Arizona presents her offering to the enterprise that has banded the continent and dictated the pathway to commerce.
If I'd known I was a governor, I would
Whoa, this keeps sliding here. Gold and silver. Ladies, could you want anything more? Maybe some diamonds. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's not only my duty, but my honor and great privilege to introduce a man of vision, a humanitarian, and a man who's highly esteemed by those of us who are fortunate to call him our friend. He is a Californian. His vision and farsightedness have made great contribution to the success of this vast enterprise. Ladies and gentlemen, without any more ado, the president of the Central Pacific Railroad Company, Governor Leland Stanford.
Thank you, gentlemen. The Pacific Railroad Companies accept with pride and satisfaction these golden and silver tokens of your appreciation of the importance of our enterprise to the material interest of the sections which you represent on this day. Indeed, the material interest of the whole nation, east and west, north and south. These gifts shall receive a fitting place in the superstructure of our road. But before driving the last spike in completion of the Pacific Railway, allow me to express the hope that the great appreciation which you are pleased to attach to our undertaking will be in all respects fully realized. That this line of rails connecting the Atlantic and Pacific and affording to commerce a new transit will prove, we trust, the speedy forerunners of increased facilities. Ladies and gentlemen, the day may not be far distant when 3 tracks, yes, 3 tracks will be necessary to accommodate the commerce and travel which will seek transit across the continent. At that time, freight will move only one way on each track and at rates of speed that will answer all demands of cheapness and time. Cars and engines will be light or heavy depending on the weight to be transported and the speed required. In conclusion, let me add that we hope to do ultimately that which is now impossible on long lines. That is, transport heavy, coarse, and cheap material over all distances at living rates to the trade. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor Stanford, for those astute and timely remarks. I don't know about you folks, but I didn't understand half of what he was talking about. Living rates to the trade. I picked up on one thing, and I think everybody else did too. Did you hear him? He's predicting three routes across the nation?
Yes, sir. 3 of them.
Wow. What a vision. Well, might be possible. We've got a Central Pacific, right? We've got a Union Pacific. Could you envision the Southern Pacific?
Yes.
Somebody down there.
Well, how about a Northern Pacific? Well, I'm stalling, ladies and gentlemen, because our next speaker, Thomas Durant, has retired to his private car. He informs me he's suffering from a severe, but I think it's a self-inflicted headache. However, in his absence, I've asked that famous Civil War hero and the chief engineer of the Union Pacific, General Grenville Dodge, would you kindly address this crowd?
Gentlemen, the great senator from Missouri, Thomas Hart Benton, has proposed a large statue of Columbus be erected on the highest peak of the Rocky Mountains, pointing to the west, denoting a great route across this continent. Today, that prophecy is a fact. This is a way west to India.
Thank you, General Dodge. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's just about time for the moment that you've all been waiting for, the driving of the last spike.
Let's get on with it.
We're right on schedule. We do have one last presentation. This presentation will be made by Mr. L.W. Coe. And Mr. Coe is the president of the Pacific Union Express Company. And he is here to make a presentation of a beautiful silver-plated spike ball.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen of the Union Pacific, it is the desire of the Union Pacific Express Company to present this to silver hammer for the occasion.
Now remember, it's soft, so just...
Yes, well, I haven't been drinking.
Yeah. We want to celebrate.
Well done.
Thank you, Mr. Coe. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the moment has arrived. Mr. Schilling, our telegrapher, just informed me that Boston and New Orleans have sent us a wire and are standing by and waiting. And indeed, all across the length and breadth of our great nation, folks are standing by and waiting for Mr. Schilling to give the signal that the last spike has been driven. The last spike, ladies and gentlemen, is a common iron spike driven into a common everyday cross tie. When that spike is driven, Mr. Schilling will tap out done. That signal, first of all, will remotely from here fire a cannon at Fort Point in San Francisco. You probably won't hear it. It will release a magnetic ball inside the dome of our nation's capital. That same signal will set off fire alarms and initiate parades in countless cities. And back in Philadelphia, I'll bet you the Liberty Bell will ring again.
Of course it will.
Dr. Durant, Governor Stanford, are you two gentlemen ready to drive the last spike?
We're ready. I believe we're ready, sir.
All right, let's get on with it.
Bulletin. All ready now. 12:40 p.m. Dr. Durant has adjusted the spike. The spike will soon be driven. The signal will be 3 dots for the commencement of the blows.
Drive her home there, Governor.
Make it blow.
Oh!
That's not as easy as it looks.
You can't even see it.
You want the middle, man.
Drive her home. Oh, you see that?
Somebody who knows how to drive the railroad come and help us drive this.
Promontory, to the country. Bulletin. D-O-N-E. Done.
Henceforth, there will be but one Pacific Railroad.
Washington, D.C. Final bulletin. Promontory Summit, Utah Territory, May 10th, 1869, 12:50 p.m. Mr. President, the last rail is laid, the last spike is driven. The Pacific Railroad is complete to a junction 1,086 miles west of the Missouri River, 690 miles east of Sacramento City. Signed, Leland Stanford, President of the Central Pacific Railroad, Thomas Durant, Sidney Dillon, John Duff, Union Pacific Railroad.
3 cheers for the Union Pacific Railroad. Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hip, hooray!
Okay, 3 cheers for the Central Pacific, and I want to see you hip-hipping this time. Don't slack off. Here we go. Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hip, hooray!
At that moment, one era ended and another began. The golden spike became a symbol of hope for a better way of life, with new challenges yet to be conquered. We thank you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, for being with us today, and have a safe journey wherever you might go. Since we just completed the month that was the month of our nation's birthday, let me give you a little trivia here. The telegrapher said that we are 1,086 miles west of Omaha, Nebraska, 690 miles east of Sacramento. If you add those two together, you get 1776.
Wow! Oh, did you notice? Yeah. We just do what you know.